All right, let's bring in now Sky News host Caleb Bond to have a look at this and a whip around the other top stories today. Caleb, the Prime Minister briefly back in the country this week. He's going to head off for his, I think, 20th overseas trip
Good for some, isn't it?
in about a year and a half. But he was asked about his handling of Israel by Peter Dutton in Question Time today.
Indeed. Dutton opened Question Time by asking the Prime Minister whether the comments made by Penny Wong on Insiders yesterday were the position of the government, her essentially inferring that war crimes have been committed by Israel and that there should be a ceasefire. And Albanese basically responded with nothing. He didn't directly address the statement from Wong at all. He read out a motion that was put up in Parliament and was supported by the government and the opposition, in which they condemned Hamas and basically said, you know, we're very sorry that bad things are happening over there, but we'd like to see a resolution. Well, that's not an answer to whether or not the position of Penny Wong is the position of the government. And then you had today Anne Ali on this network saying that we have called for a humanitarian pause. Now, humanitarian pause is Polly speak for ceasefire, basically. So when you've got two senior members of the government speaking in that way and the Prime Minister refuses to call it out or make a very clear ruling on that matter, you can only assume that it is either the position of the government or a position that the government is entertaining.
Now, let's have a look at some other topics today. We're seeing in the Sydney Morning Herald a Resolve poll, showing that voters are turning away from the Albanese government because of the cost of living crisis. Now we've had 13 interest rate rises. What does the poll show and how bad is it getting for the government on this front?
Well, the primary vote for the government is down, which is no great surprise, but cost of living is now rating as the number one issue. I mean, I've been saying it for a long time. It's cost of living and cost of living. 52% of people in this Resolve poll said that it was far and away the most pressing issue they have. So you now have a majority of people who are struggling and can't get anywhere, and yet the government keeps saying, well, cost of living is the number one issue to us as well. Well, has anyone seen a reduction in their cost of living? I mean, they've fiddled around the edges with things like increases in welfare, but for the average person who's dealing with, in real terms, their wages going down, their interest rates going up, the cost of everything else going up, the cost of fuel going up, the cost of power going up, they've seen no relief at all. So it's no surprise to see that with the voice out of the way, the rubber is starting to hit the road and the government will actually have to get down to brass tacks and talk about issues that people care about. And that's been borne out in these numbers.